Well, welcome to a special edition of A Smoke-Filled Room. We're in the last episode of the year, so we decided to change it up. Today is Core Strategy's holiday party. We couldn't get our whole team here today to the headquarters, but today we're in the lower level of our 3-story headquarters in Inverness, Illinois. We're going to have some fun later, so we decided we'd record here together. So you've got not just our political team, but we've got a bunch of people that we never happen to get on screen. First of all, in the love seat together is Chris and Ryan.
Let's get it.
Happy mints, don't worry.
Yeah.
Lawsuits are coming.
And by the end of the episode, they'll remember to actually speak into the mics, but we'll work on that. We got Abe, who we never get on camera. This is the guy who makes everything work around Core Strategies, and we actually got him on camera. He will, by the end of the episode, I'm sure, just sneak out and be like, I'm out, but we actually got him on camera, which I'm excited about. Over here, we've got political team members. We've got Michael, Abby, and Matt. Y'all know them pretty well already. We have my wife, Abby Corbett, with us. She was not super excited. She tried to get out of it, but here she is. And of course the baby with her, so there's an additional person joining us. Maybe he'll have some ideas and comments of his own, we'll find out. And then our producer, Lane Davis, actually on screen for the first time. So the dude who does all the work behind the scenes for these episodes actually for once gets to be on camera. Though ironically we decided who gets mics, and there's one for these two, one for those two, and Lane doesn't actually have a mic.
Just kind of jump in.
Yeah, well, or you'll just hear him in post add his own voice to it.
Oh gosh, that's never good.
So with this being the final week of the year, our plan is not to necessarily cover some timely topics. We have some fun ones we do want to cover, some interesting ones. Obviously, Ed Burke being convicted of racketeering, among other things. There are a number of topics. The first couple migrant deaths, which is really sad. We've been predicting this for a while now. It's now happened. So there are definitely timely things we want to talk about. But this with being the final episode of the year, we decided to take it a little different. We have had topics all year that certain team members, including myself, have wanted to cover, and we couldn't quite fit them into an episode. So we have 11 topics this week. We have put them, the idea was into a hat, but instead we have them in this weirdly shaped orange bowl thing. We put all 11 topics in here, and we're just going to go through these one by one, and the order will be determined by whichever one I happen to grab. And we'll see what happens. Also, the person who, we've got a drink for today because we're keeping it more casual. So somebody who makes a dumb comment, we all get to agree they just need to take a drink, other than, of course, my pregnant wife. By the way, that is the reason, for those of us who watch this and complain that we don't actually have smoke in our smoke-filled room, this week we're not smoking cigars because, apparently the baby has needs.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all Abby Corbett's fault. Otherwise, we'd be enjoying ourselves smoking cigars. So instead, we have some whiskey. Some other people are sloughing it with some less good drinks, like Busch Light. Oliver's getting over something, so she's boring over there. But we're going to try to peer pressure her into drinking something a little more fun.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. And she's a badass, so I'm sure it'll happen.
Isn't whiskey supposed to help?
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't whiskey supposed to be like one of those old school cures for everything?
I mean, I don't think it's old school. I think it's still new school.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't talked about this, but that's how I intend to raise our child.
Yeah.
So,
Just warm it up, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, with her teeth.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
skins.
I really don't want anyone touching my gums. Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure some people would offer, but on camera, I don't know. I feel like HR is going to have to get involved this week.
Oh gosh.
We got, and HR is always involved because Doray's here.
Yeah, that's true.
Luckily, the reason why I like this place is because there's no HR here, so get away with more.
And I'm sure the state of Illinois will love that you just admitted that on camera. It's really going to go well for our company. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. So anybody who makes a dumb comment, we're going to make them take a drink.
Drink, Duray.
Yeah, that's
a
drink.
I will definitely drink to that.
Yeah, all right. Michael's already drinking. I think he mixed some Sprite with my Tully, so we're going to have a whole conversation about that off screen. But and then anybody who has a particularly good insight or a really good funny comment, you can't see it on screen, but we always do a white elephant exchange at our company get together. So we've decided this year that anybody who just makes a comment that we're all like, all right, that was really good, they get to take a gift. So we're going to incentivize people to be fun and interesting on this episode. So we're going to see where this goes. All right, first topic of the day is a Ryan Kilduff topic. Will we ever be able to talk politics with friends again? Ryan, why don't you start us off?
I mean, the answer is no, and it's annoying. It's frustrating me because unless everybody's in agreement, there's literally nothing to talk about because it just becomes, arguing. And I'd just love to be able to talk about things. I don't know why it's so complicated.
Well, in my family, we're all Republicans, but we all fall somewhere different on the spectrum, and we can't even get out of a family discussion without yelling at each other. So I can't imagine being in a family where people on different sides of the aisle, because there's times where I just wanted to like punch my dad in the face over politics. Yeah, so
You did say that everyone in your family is all on different parts of the spectrum.
Yeah, like-
we're talking about the political
They're on the
spectrum.
spectrum. Yeah.
political. No, on the political spectrum. So like
You're
my
all talking
dad,
about Republicans
my dad's
here
like a
after all.
Trump Republican, and I'm obviously not. So it always leads to fun conversations.
Chris just said all the Republicans are on the spectrum, so Chris, take a break. I mean, it's a decent. I think Ryan's got a great topic here because we all just got through the holidays. And tell me how many of you actually had a successful conversation with a family member on politics. Like Abe. All right, let's give Abe the mic.
Uh-oh, he's
Wonders
gonna
get
talk.
Abe over here somehow pulled it off.
I had to convince my family that that Michelle Obama was not going to run for president,
Okay.
and they were
People are
upset.
like convinced about that.
They were pretty confident
Yeah.
that she was going to run.
By the way,
Swap her out.
Cards Against Humanity, one of my favorite cards is Michelle Obama's arms. Is just an incredible card to play at the right moment in Cards Against Humanity. But all right, so you had a successful conversation.
I would disagree with Ryan and Abby, actually. I think that it's your friends and your family who you should be able to have those conversations with. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are Democrats, and most of my family's left of center. But it's when you have those conversations that you can have a better understanding of who they are, and they understand where you're coming from. And then, you come out of it as closer family members and better people, as long as you don't yell at each other, which I don't see happens that much.
But do you find your family members on the other side of the aisle are willing to have those conversations with you?
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to my aunt on Christmas Eve, and she worked for a state rep for a long time as a legislative aide, and we were both just talking about what it's like being in politics, and it was kind of cool, me coming from a Republican perspective and her from a Democrat perspective. And there's as much craziness as out there as like we do agree on a lot of the main things, and the foundational issues we all agree on. It's just kind of the policies and how we want to implement them that's different. So...
Man.
I mean, everyone can agree Joe Biden's old, so you find those points where you can all agree on, and then just go from there.
Or Trump is orange, or we could
Yeah.
go from there. Or Michelle Obama has arms, I guess. Yeah.
She has. I mean, no, she's got badass arms. Like she's
She's got very
messing around.
masculine arms, yeah.
I wouldn't say that, but
Oh.
it's DeRay can drink, and I think Lane wants the
Here we
mic.
go.
I would say politics has never really been the topic of discussion at holiday parties until recently. Like growing up, I didn't think my family ever talked or cared about politics, and now recently it's, hey, did you see this in the news, or what do you think about this? So I feel like the conversation has now increased more recently too.
I mean, everything's political, right?
Yeah.
We can't watch sports without it being political. We can't do anything without it being political. So it would stand to reason that now, even in family get-togethers, I think that the problem is for us in this group, we're all to varying degrees politically savvy and politically involved. What kills me is when somebody just wants to share their political opinion. Like we had somebody at our Christmas party who was there with one of my aunts, and she was lovely, but she was very adamant about her political positions and what she knew to be true. And I was like, I do this for a living, and I'm telling you that's actually not how that happened. But everyone nowadays is an expert. They all know everything. And so for those of us who actually do know a little bit more, you're listening to them and you're like, no, that's not how that works.
That's why I intentionally try not to talk politics outside of work, because
Really?
I seriously,
Really?
She's excited you have a life.
So is my mother. But in any case, I intentionally try not to talk about politics outside of work because I do this for a living. This is my job. I don't want to talk about why, Donald Trump is a dictator or something like that. I don't want to talk about
Clip
why,
that, Lane. Clip
why
that
Joe
right
Biden
there.
is a lizard person. I don't want to talk about these things outside of workforce because it's like what Colin just said. You have these, lumpins who are coming up and talking to you, and they're like, oh, did you know?
These what?
Did you-
Lumpins?
Lumpins. That's,
Like the lumpen proletariat. Don't you read your Marxist theory?
no,
Colin?
I just thought you were talking about the Oompa Loompas.
No, you need to brush about your Marxist theory, Colin. And anyway, I don't want to talk about these things because these people don't know what they're talking about. It's like, did you know that Russia actually hacked the election and that's how
But-
Trump got elected? No, that's not what happened. I know that's not what happened.
But isn't that
so-
the whole point, Chris? Is that people aren't coming into these conversations with the open mind. They already have their like Abe was talking about. They already have their mind made up. What is the truth? So as long as apparently only in DeRay's family, people come in
Of all the groups we thought would actually be
Right.
like Matt has hurt the feelings of every person he knows, yet apparently his family will talk politics.
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
And-
what you
and-
got to do with these conspiracy
And you
theory
don't make fun
types-
of them, you don't
Well, here's what happens is you just got to get on their wavelength and then take it a step further. So then when they start talking about like all the evils of the vaccine, then you'd be like, yeah, you know what? Vaccines, they do cause autism. And you just keep seeing how many steps further
they put a
take.
chip in there with the 666 code in it.
Right, you just keep going, and then they go along with you, and then it's
Part
a
of
heck
the New
of a
World
ride.
Order, the Antichrist is coming.
Well, that might be true.
You're like,
Who
it's
has
not
the-
just Russia, it's also China, and also the Middle East, and also the Democrat Party, and you're just sitting back there like, yeah, you tell them.
So I was going to give Chris the gift for this topic simply because we were all excited that he had friends, but I don't know. I think DeRay might have taken the cake on that one. So Matt, what gift do you want?
I'll go with the Baby Yoda.
Matt gets the Ryan. Can you give him the Baby Yoda? Or, this is actually just Megan asked us to make sure Ryan gets some exercise on the episode.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Matt gets the Baby Yoda. Oh, it
Oh,
doesn't.
it makes noise.
It doesn't stop talking. So now that's all we're gonna hear. And apparently, Baby Yoda dances. So I don't know what's going on here. All right, let's go to the next topic.
Oh boy.
What do we got next? That's just gonna keep going. All right, so this is a topic. I got to pull up my computer here so this is something I have had on the agenda that I've wanted to cover for like 6 months. Mark Batinick, who is down in your region of the world, posted something a very, very long time ago that we finally get a chance to talk about once Baby Yoda stops
Baby Yoda
talking.
just doesn't quit, man.
He had a op-ed. Was it in Cranes, where it talked about how Democratic policies in Illinois have actually not improved the inequity that we see in this state. I got to pull this up because they actually had a Wallet Hub study on racial inequity, equity, Illinois. All right, because I don't want to get this one wrong, but I know Illinois was down at the absolute bottom when it came to racial equity, and yet, if you ask anybody down in Springfield, every bill that gets passed has some sort of equity component to it. There's nothing that happens politically in this state that doesn't have some carve out for lower income people, for minorities, or both. This is one of the states that focuses the most on racial equity, and yet all those policies have clearly done nothing. Here we go. Here's the study. My computer is making noise. Illinois ranks last in the nation for racial financial equity in the whole country, and yet every bill we pass has some component for that. So the question is, are these policies actually working, or maybe, just maybe, and this was Batinick's point, are these policies actually leading to more dependence on government? The more that you actually give handouts, is it leading to more dependence on government and actually not helping these lower income families, these, in many cases, minority families, have that next opportunity to maybe create generational wealth, which is what we want. We want to reduce that equity or that income gap. We want to help the lower income families and communities really have that leg up. But the difference is the Republican concept, if it's done right, is a hand up, not a hand out. And Democratic policies are more that hand out. We're going to give you these things. Republicans want to give you opportunities if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So anyways, I don't know where this conversation will go. I have a feeling we'll have lots of different ideas on this topic, but it's been on the agenda for like 4 months. So let's at least open up this can and see if anybody has any thoughts.
So look, this is an argument. I'm not going to go into the merits. I'm sure the data is correct, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's similar data that we've seen in other studies. One of the things about this is that this is an argument that a lot of conservatives and Republicans have been making for a number of years, and in a lot of different states, not just this one. I remember this was a key factor in like the 2016 Republican primaries. Rand Paul went to Detroit, and he was trying to reach out to African American communities, and this happens every Republican primary cycle. They try and do these things. But not once has it paid any real dividends in terms of moving one minority demographic more towards the Republican Party. And every time the Republican Party gets a couple percent, usually by the next election it's back down to where it was, reverts to the mean. So while I don't doubt Batinick's statistics and the data, at the same time, what does this actually mean? What does saying this out loud actually accomplish?
Well, I think the key, I'm just reading Batinick's thing now because I found it. I think the key here is he's talking about how we've got a lot of bills that are passed down in Springfield that sound good. That's like, hey, we want to fix X, but they have unintended consequences, that they're not actually solving the root problems of what's leading to this inequity. You've got crime in a lot of these communities that's holding younger people back. You have entire communities where these young kids, a life in crime is one of their only options. We don't have these programs where maybe they might have an opportunity to go get a job or a apprenticeship at a manufacturing company or some opportunity outside of maybe a potential life in crime. Like there's work that needs to be done on the ground, but we pass these sort of flashy bills that are like, hey, we have now solved all inequity, and it's obviously not happened in this state because for however many years it's been Democrat dominance in Springfield, and they keep passing bill after bill after bill, and yet what Batinick is arguing is the fact that our taxes are among the worst in the country, the fact that crime is among worst in the country, the fact that educational opportunities are among the worst in the country, that our investments in mental health are among the worst in the country. All of these have a much bigger impact than that flashy bill that some politician passes down in Springfield.
I think like there are like some opportunities, especially with like Hispanic voters. Like I think Republicans kind of, I've seen like think like, oh, African Americans, that's where we have an opening, we have an opportunity there. But we've seen it, across the country, like Southern Texas, and even Trump's numbers in 2020. He made big strides with Hispanic voters in 2020 compared to the votes he got in 2016, because those voters saw like, okay, this is what he actually stands for. These are his policies. Like my life is improved because he's president. So I think there is an opportunity there. Like we saw it with Invest in Kids, where if you look at who actually benefited from that program, it was a lot of majority minority groups that were benefiting, and the Democrats were kind of like, oh, whatever, who cares? We're not even going to vote for it, right? Even so.
Well, do we see this now with
there.
Chicago? CPS trying to take a move away from any form of school choice in Chicago schools, where again, you could maybe reform the program so that it's more focused on lower income, more focused on minority students. Like there's probably reforms, but in their case, for them, it was just, let's just do away with school choice in our schools completely. Again, I think it's that same point.
Let me say one more thing, and then I'm going to pass it over to Oliver because she has something. But I think to your point, Chris, like, okay, yeah, like obviously we're Republicans. We want more Republicans to get elected. Like we care about like who's voting for who. But there's also a point where it's like, okay, what is best for people? Like I don't care. I mean, I care, but like I don't care if like Republicans get 50% of the Hispanic vote. Like I want bills to pass that benefit them regardless of whether they ever vote for me or not. Because that's like the right thing to do. Like we have a country to save. And they're part of this country. So let's get it done. All right.
So, Chris, but isn't it sort of a function of the racial politics, especially in Chicago? You were talking about this a lot when you were building your school board maps, is that the Asian communities deserved its own district, and they didn't create that because the Hispanic groups and the Black Caucus, they had their own agenda. So isn't it a function of it's not necessarily the policies, but it's racial politics, and I think every group has their own agenda, and that comes before the collective whole of every minority.
To that point, when I was talking about CPS making the changes, a lot of the kids that benefit from the current version of school choice, I've been told, I do not have the stats, but the reports are, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, it's more Asian and white students than it is Black and Hispanic students who benefit from the current version of Chicago school choice. So it's yet again, when you talk about racial politics, it's like, okay, to those Asian students, fine, you're on your own because we don't care that this is helping you. It's not helping the demographics we want to help. So there is a lot of racial politics here for sure.
What also comes, Oliver was talking about, racial politics and racial power down in Springfield. I mean, the Asians don't have a, cohesive block down in Springfield. I believe they have 2 or 3 legislators down there. And, African Americans dominate the Democratic caucus down there. And a lot of these programs, we talk about equity, a lot of these programs aren't really directly going to help, minority, African American, or Hispanic communities. They're really going to bureaucracy, or they're going to, non-governmental organizations, nonprofits. That's where a lot of this money ends up going in the name of equity, and it doesn't actually go to the people who deserve it. So I think perhaps there's a way where the government can be involved in racial equity, but done a lot better.
Yeah, I think no one disputes the desire here to help those who are less fortunate or who need the help. Agreed. The issue is, the path we're going on, that we have been going on for, I mean, it's been one-party rule in the state for a very long time, other than a blip of Rauner, which was a failure. So other than that, it's been one-party rule in this state, and we haven't fixed this problem. So maybe, just maybe, a conversation should be had in Springfield and amongst policymakers that the path we're going on is not solving the problem. We all agree it's a problem. Maybe actually Democrats could listen to some Republican ideas, because I think you'll start to find that a lot of those Republican policies actually are intended to help people get that opportunity. But that's not how it's portrayed. And that's not how the Democrats and the media will portray it. But you know what? The Democrats' ideas have not solved racial inequity in this state. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to actually speak to a Republican once and try a Republican policy and see how it plays out.
Just my little 2 cents on this subject, because it's more of like the hand up versus hand out, because I have always struggled with where I fall on there, because I do understand the point of the handout to help people, but I just think. I think back to when you and I were in Africa, and we saw, obviously the people of Zimbabwe were in such a terrible situation. And when we talked to locals, we were there in 2017, and I think Trump had just pulled funding for, support for that country. And I know all of my Democrat friends were really upset about it and thought that was awful. And so we talked to locals there, and they were actually really thankful that he did that, because the money wasn't going to the people, it was going to the leaders. And Mugabe, I think was his name, was the president of Zimbabwe at the time, and he was living in this luxury life while his people were literally bargaining for my hair tie and our empty water bottle. So I think, to Chris's point, it's where is the money going? It's, you can say, oh, we're throwing a bunch of money at this, but is it actually going to the people that it needs?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the difference between good policy versus good politics, right? Is it same thing when we were over there? George Bush was a god to most of these Africans, because he was actually in Africa and investing in Africa and giving them opportunities to start their own businesses. He wasn't just handing them money; he was actually giving them opportunities. And they spoke of George Bush like you never hear in America. Like, he was literally like the king of Africa. They loved him so much. But this is
that Family Guy thing. You know.
They had more pictures of George Bush than Obama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was just, but this is the thing. It's what we hear back home was Donald Trump is horrible because he's taken away funding from poor people, and that's actually not what happened, right? So the idea here is a good policy versus good politics. Now, our Republican Party needs to do a better job focusing on those who need help. We don't do that enough, and we certainly don't communicate that, because a lot of our policies actually do this, but we don't communicate it. So we absolutely have to improve here. But it would be really nice, I'm sure, if we actually got a seat at the table for like 5 minutes, because in this state, it's 100% Democrat ruled, then we have the worst racial equity when it comes to finances in the country. So something ain't working.
Colin, you had a seat at the table for 4 years, and what did you just say? It was a failure?
Yeah, one person had the seat at the table, and that one person was clearly not up to the task.
Well, to both of your points, you say the debate between good policy versus good politics. I think the third key ingredient is good perception. I mean, perception is reality in politics. Mm-hmm. You see people in the U.S. who say that, oh, it's terrible what's happening in Africa, and then you have to talk to people who are actually there, and they say it's great what's happening there. And it just shows that there's a disconnect between what actually happens and what voters perceive as happening. Yep. So how do we bridge that gap? Is when Republicans do good things, we showcase those things, and when Democrats do bad things, we call them out on it. It doesn't matter if Democrats are literally burning down cities, which I guess they literally kind of did do, but if people think and see that that's a good thing, then that's what the narrative is. And if Republicans are doing great things and the Democrats call us racist, or they say that we hate whatever, X, Y, Z, and that's what people think, then that perception is more important than what's actually getting done to the voters. So
okay. Let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. DeRay, name me something good the Republicans have done in the state.
We don't have power. There's nothing that we can do.
Okay, so if you don't have power, you cannot create a perception of doing anything productive.
But you can create a perception of what the Democrats are doing negatively.
Here's what I would argue. You have a lot of communities in this state that are run by Republican leadership, and you have Democrats who are fleeing other communities to move to move to Naperville, to move to Palatine, to move to Joliet even, or to move into the south suburbs, to some of these communities that are locally run by more either Republican or maybe conservative Democrats. They're leaving the more liberal areas. So when you say what have Republicans done, I see a lot of voters who are fleeing places like the city of Chicago to go to Republican-run suburbs, and that's not something we hear about enough. Now, are they doing anything in Springfield? They can't. They can't even get in the damn room. But when it comes to are there Republicans in the state who are leading, I see a lot of Republican mayors, township supervisors, local leaders who are doing a dang good job. And to me, that says that our policies actually work.
Does that mean
All right, close
Colin
this-
has to take a drink and get a gift for that? Because that was pretty
No,
good.
I think Abby Corbett gets the gift on this
right.
one. What do you want? What's give her the mic so she can. She wants the alcohol for sure.
Coffee warm.
She wants the sweet jams.
I actually wanted the jams.
It's all right.
I'm not going to tell you where that gift came from.
I
Then
went to the cigar bar.
All right, take it quickly. We got to move to the next topic.
I'll do the coffee, whatever thing that is.
Oliver's unhappy. She wanted that. All right, next topic. We got to keep moving a little bit here. What do we got next? I love that Lane's going to have to figure out some way to actually come up with an agenda since we're just doing it willy-nilly. All right. Okay, so someone snuck this in without my permission. Apparently, we're going to talk about the Republican presidential primary now, so that's exciting.
yes.
I wonder who would have done that, Chris.
I think Oliver and Chris both wanted to. So I, as you guys know, if you've watched any more than just one episode of this show, hate talking national politics, but here we are. So Oliver, kick us off. Let's talk about the Republican presidential primary and just how much of a cluster it has been.
Well, as much as it pains
And
me
I'm going
to
to get another drink while we do
No,
this.
yeah, you're going to need it. As much as it pains me to say, Chris, you were right.
Whoa!
Oh, everyone take a shot.
I'm just
Mark
gonna
the
take the
date
whole
and the
thing.
time. Mark the date and the time, everybody.
What is going on?
Wow.
Cats and
Christmas
dogs
miracle.
living together, anarchy in the streets.
It seems that Donald Trump is actually running away with this primary, not just in Illinois, but it seems like everywhere. I mean, I've heard from everyone in the
That's the happiest I've seen Chris all year.
Well, I mean, I've heard it from delegates to volunteers for the DeSantis campaign. You know, they're just mass dysfunction, and this guy was supposed to be the answer to Donald Trump.
It's been a horribly run campaign.
And like they just pulled out their ads out of Iowa, which is crazy to me. So I mean, Nikki Haley's been running an okay campaign, but like I just don't know how like anyone's going to catch up to Donald Trump at this point, and it's sad, and I hate every.
I mean,
second
what
of
I
it,
don't
but-
understand from the DeSantis side, this is not at the state level. There are obviously good people involved in the
Yeah.
different states. I mean, the national campaign. This was not like they decided overnight to run for president.
No,
DeSantis
that's
has
the
been
thing
angling to
that's
run for like
frustrating to
what,
me.
2 years? How do you run this bad of a campaign when you've been angling to run for this long?
Right, you should have that infrastructure and those trusted people in place, and you should have a strategy that you know is going to work, because it just looks like they just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to run for president," and they had like no clue how to message it. Their staff.
And I know grassroots people have been trying to get involved. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the Vallis campaign, where there's like grassroots
Yeah,
people who
that's
want to
crazy.
help and want to get involved, and there's no one for them to call. No one that you've got state groups like in Illinois, state groups
Yeah.
where they're putting together watch parties. They're doing everything they can do, but without any help from the national campaign.
I know, and we talk all the time. There's these people that are going to run for president. It's so anticipated, but I don't think there's anyone more so than DeSantis that everyone thought this was going to be the guy. He was going to be the anti-Trump candidate, and it's just been he's just fallen flat on his face. So we don't have to talk about it for a long time. I just think we should just at least acknowledge that it's a huge shift in the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the reason why I just never sign up to be a delegate.
Right.
Partially because I just don't want to. I don't like putting my name next to somebody else's because I don't want to be held responsible for the dumb crap other
Yeah.
people do. But the other thing is these campaigns change so quickly.
Yeah.
You have to pick a side so early because you got to pass these petitions, and then whoever you pick the side for 2 months later isn't relevant.
I know
anymore.
a friend who's gone through 3 different delegates for 3 different campaigns, and he's like, really?
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time someone drops out. So
I mean, it seems like that from the campaign perspective, there just seems to be no path to victory for Ron DeSantis at this point.
Agree.
And because he's term limited in Florida, I don't see any reason for him to stop running. But
Yeah.
at this point, the only chance for someone to beat Trump would be, DeSantis teams up with Haley. Haley wins New Hampshire, and maybe they ride some momentum from
Yeah,
that. It's a
but-
slim chance. But I mean, I see
that is
no
the
other
only
path. Yeah.
That is the only path. So I mean, we'll see what
I mean,
happens.
a Haley DeSantis ticket is probably
yeah, but
not
who's
the worst thing.
who's gonna take the top of the ticket?
It would be
'Cause
Haley at this point. She's the only one who has a chance
Yeah.
in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Or Vivek.
But at this point,
That's over, bro. It's over, bro.
oh yeah, Vivek is like Rick Perry. Like he was famous for 5 seconds, and then we're kind of all done with
For the
him.
record, I'm not a Vivek fan. Never,
You
never,
were.
claimed to be. Never claimed to be. Never.
Hold on.
No
DeRay-
clue. Never
DeRay
claimed.
DeRay take 2 drinks.
Never claimed to be a Vivek
Liar.
fan. Never.
Liar.
No clue. I've never
You're
even
trafficking
seen
in
it.
revisionism, DeRay.
No
We
clue.
have an
Vivek.
entire Discord of Matt DeRay's big V for victory.
No,
No
I
clue.
specifically remember.
Who are we talking
Drake.
about?
You went to the first. You went to the first debate in person, and you were talking about for weeks about how you did the little V and how you coined it, and he did it back to you.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that guy.
I think Matt needs to give back his gift and take 3 drinks.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, what
No
do
more Baby
you have to
Yoda.
say about this?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds a little bit like DeRay. Listen, I will only say that I did accurately predict who would be the strongest challenger to Donald Trump months and months and months and months ago by pointing to Nikki Haley. Now, can she beat Trump? It is single-digit odds at this point. But go ahead.
You always got to find a silver lining in which you're somehow right, Colin. It's like, my
Chris.
original
Says
prediction was
Chris.
completely off, but like Nikki Haley's coming to like 20 points in second, so therefore I'm somehow right in this scenario.
Unlike you,
No,
just never wavers from your initial present, even though you're clearly wrong.
See,
I'm clearly right.
I'm-
What did you say? Hold on. What did you just say about 5 minutes ago, Oliver?
This is
I'm
one
sorry
time,
to
one
say,
time. You had
Chris
one
was
time.
right. Remember, folks, Chris was right. Donald
One
Trump's winning this primary in a landslide, mind you. Nikki Haley's only like coming up because everybody's just sick of DeSantis at this point because the consulting talking heads out in D.C. who are running his
He's
campaign
like that
are going to the
politician who
bank.
got it right
Cha-ching,
once, and
cha-ching.
he's just
Right.
gonna run on that
Right.
for the rest
yeah,
of his life.
pretty much. See, the difference between us, I'm just a better politician. I know how to slide, my position a little bit so it looks like I was
Run for
right.
office then.
Yeah.
You first.
I want to see a Chris Jacoviak yard sign. Like I would almost pay our graphic designer to come up with that, just because it would
Yes,
be
please.
it would be
The
amazing.
Jacoviak of all trades. There we go.
There you go. That's good.
Elect me and I'll jack everything up.
And then instead of like the MAGA hats, they'd like be passing out mustaches or something like that.
Nice. Nice.
You gotta have the mustache on your sign.
There you go.
I'm not keeping the mustache. The mustache is gone as of January 1st.
You need to use your
Did,
watch
did,
to
did,
figure
did
out what
November
day it
just
is?
kind of bleed into December?
It did it last year too, so I'm just kind of like just doing that until the new year, trying to see what
Like a
happens.
follow through sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Butler, what do you have to say about the Trump landslide imminent?
I think Trump's going to run away with the primary, and I think I also think that he's going to beat Joe Biden. He'll be the second president to have non-consecutive terms. I mean, look at all the polling. I mean, it's early, but look at the polling now. I mean, Trump up in Arizona, Tide in Pennsylvania.
Hold on, here's what I
all
love.
this stuff.
All the Trump fans who said, you can never trust polling. Polling is always wrong. Polling is the worst. Now that it has their guy up, polling's amazing. Trump's winning in the polls. Polls are great.
I mean, you look at the polling last time, like,
Have
it was
some
just-
logical
Trump
consistency,
was.
man. Like either polling is great or it's
That
not.
was the fake
Yeah,
news
they were
media doing
lying.
the last
They were
polls.
like, yeah, Biden's up 20 in Wisconsin. Yeah, did you think those polls were accurate, Colin?
I mean, you even hear like David Axelrod and all these people like sounding the alarm, like Biden has no
Oh, no,
chance.
listen,
he
if
just
Kid
wants
Rock
out,
says it, I
like,
believe it.
all
Right?
this stuff.
Here's the thing. I've said this on the record multiple times. If Trump is the nominee and if Biden is the nominee, then Trump will win. I think Trump wins that rematch.
What are they going to do? They're going to get rid of Biden?
I think they're smart enough to know that they need to get this guy out of there.
I think they're.
I want it to happen. It should happen.
I mean,
It should happen. They should
I
swap
mean,
out
it'd be
Joe.
cool if there was 2 different candidates on the ballot and they just pulled the plug on both of them. Imagine that.
Literally pull the plug.
180.
I see what you did there. Consider like 90.
You've also got all these third
I'm not
party
advocating
guys
for
this
any
time, which is going to be
Melissa
That would be
the
the only thing that makes this election fun. Because so far it's been.
I mean, let's be honest. It has been a very boring election, and people like their entertainment. I feel like we get to the conventions, and it's just all about Hollywood now and entertainment, and we start to make it fun. We're like, you know what? We're gonna yank the nominees, and it's just gonna be a floor fight, like a literal cage match floor fight. And you get like Joe Biden in there, barely able to stand up, and you got J.B. Pritzker in there in like a sumo suit or something, and you got. And you got like when you got,
J.B. Pritzker's fat, guys.
you got Gavin Newsom in there with
Guys
like
sharing a couch, a love seat with me.
Gavin Newsom maybe with like the guy probably wouldn't ever have a weapon, so Gavin Newsom with like I don't know, like a piece of paper that he can hit people with. Like I put my money on Stacey Abrams. She'll kick all their butts.
Don't forget about Michelle Obama.
Right, and full circle, Michelle Obama's arms. If she really wanted to, she'd take them all out. Like I'm not going to tick off Michelle Obama. She's a badass woman. So I think if she decided to get in that cage match, it'd be over.
I've been kind of hoping that Hillary Clinton would kind of do the Hillary Clinton thing and come in as the savior, just because I really would like to see a rematch between Trump and Clinton.
God.
Because I mean, if you want to talk about entertainment, that would be amazing.
So here's the thing. I think you have opened my eyes, because I've been saying that Trump wins only if it's Biden. But I think if they do that and put Hillary in, Trump also beats Hillary. Because I've been saying there's only one person that can't beat Trump, and it's Biden, but that's actually not true. There are two people who can't beat Trump,
Well,
it's Biden or Hillary.
I saw an article recently, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, where they're saying, like, that the Biden team was like, hey, Hillary, can you help us? So, like, you know, they're
How desperate are you when you need to reach out to Hillary Clinton
Yeah.
for advice on how to win a presidential campaign?
You think
Hey,
Kamala
it
could
was,
beat
remember
Trump?
what Hillary said? It was stolen.
You think Kamala could beat Trump?
I think Kamala would be the worst choice, but I think she'd beat Trump.
You're out to lunch.
It's not gonna happen. I'm just eating pretzels, man, and I'm on the mic, so Lane's gonna have to edit this out later, just the crunching of the pretzels.
I think the problem is, like, okay, they swap out Biden for somebody else. Like, Kamala's going to be there, like, hey, it needs to be me. Like, she's going to be, like, pissed off, which who cares what she thinks, but still.
No Democrat wants Kamala Harris.
No.
I think if there's anything the entire country could agree on, both Republican and Democrat, is that we don't want Kamala Harris as president.
I think you all underestimate the power of the White House when it comes to political parties. Like, people always think that there's like some puppets behind the scenes, like pulling the strings of who gets to be the president. But it's like, if you're the president, you pretty much control your political party. And no one else is, like, if no one's going to say to Joe Biden, you can't run, we're going to replace you. Joe Biden will be like, I am the Democrat Party. Like, Joe Biden, for all intents and purposes, is the king of his party, like it or not. There's no one who Joe Biden doesn't report to anyone except maybe like his caregiver. But I'm saying there's no one behind the strings of that thing. There's just no strings at all. You guys give him all too much credit.
Did anybody get nervous when they heard Matt start his comment with the word white, and then we're like, okay, where's this going?
White House.
I got it. I know.
Which is what we all live in.
I disagree.
I was looking over at Lane for the mute button just in case.
Joe Biden is not, like, in control of anything. Everybody is just like, other people are doing everything. He's just there. He gets up at 10 a.m. and goes to bed at, like, 5:30.
All right, pause. Chris, this is what I was talking about. Christmas Eve, you could just go along with whatever they're saying and you take it a step further. Michael, no one's in charge of anything. I agree.
Here's the good news, though. I mean, we actually have multiple presidents in a row now that get to take advantage of the senior discount at the local, like the local establishment, like at the local buffet. You know, we've had multiple presidents in a row now that get to eat dinner at the buffet at 4 p.m. So that's great. All right, so I think Oliver should get a gift for the fact that she was crazy enough to admit that Chris is ever right on camera. And that's got to be a painful thing that you're probably never going to come back from. So what gift do you want?
Can we steal, like, in grab bag?
I mean, if we run out of gifts. At the rate we're going, we're going to be here a couple
One
hours.
I'm gonna do the water thing.
The water thing.
The water bottle.
The thermos?
Which one? The Vader one or the...
boozy one?
Oh, the boozy one?
Yeah.
The Dasher, Prancer, Moscato tequila?
Because I need to fill it up with some of the whiskey.
All right, here we go. Oliver got a decent thing here. All right, I like it. All right, what's next? Were you just reaching in my bowl?
Shaking it around a little bit.
That could be sexual harassment.
HR. Wait, there is none.
That could be sexual harassment here, buddy.
Reaching in your ball.
Michael can't run for office now because he's crossed the line.
like that's why
He
he
only
can't
brought
run
2
for
Busch
office.
Lights, so he'll come
I know. I ran out.
All right, this is a fun one. Which Illinois politician would make the best reality show villain? Who added this?
Lane.
No, this was Lane. Lane started us off. So why reality show villain, not just villain? Because, like, Madigan was Vader, Madigan was the Emperor. He was Palpatine. Or, like, that's just villain, but, like, I don't watch reality shows.
Reality show villains are the best.
They're the best because they will tell one person one thing to their face and then go turn around and say something completely different just so
Okay.
they can, like, it's like politics. They're all politically motivated to, like, move themselves along further.
Yeah.
So I would say, it's hard to come up with a villain. I do see Darren Bailey maybe being the villain because I could totally see him telling some people one thing and then turning around.
I just
and saying
picture my wife Abby's, like, watching The Bachelor. The Bachelor's the one with all the dudes, or is that The Bachelorette?
That's Bachelorette.
Bachelorette, where like all the dudes are in there like drinking their protein powder, like like, you know, that's what I picture as the villains, but I don't watch enough of this stuff, and I don't see Darren Bailey pumping some protein.
Oh. But also, even beyond Bachelor, Bachelorette, you got like Survivor, where those guys are all like coming up with their strategic ins and outs. But I also was thinking beyond just villain, producer, Mike Madigan would probably be the best reality show producer because he would be pulling so many different
See, but the thing is, he tamps down the drama. He doesn't create, like Chris Welch would be the best producer because he creates drama because he's such a bad producer.
That could be, but they'll do it behind the scenes where they don't. They'll tell one contestant like, "Hey, did you hear what Tommy said about you?" And then they blow up, and then.
So it's basically like who's the biggest gossip in Illinois politics?
That would be a good one too.
Okay.
Yeah, the villains are always the gossip.
That gossip.
Yeah.
I mean, so politically we don't align, but personally I do actually kind of like this person. So I say this kind of in jest, but like I've seen like Kelly Cassidy be like the big gossip down in Springfield. If you want to know this gossip in Springfield, you go to someone like a Kelly Cassidy or someone like that. So maybe she'd be the person. I don't know.
I was gonna say Scott Casper. Like he's the
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
guy that like
100%.
he wants to think like he's the villain, and he's like, oh, I'm stirring the pot and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But really, the only thing that he's done so far that I'm aware of is give your computer a virus on Illinois Review
and run for office multiple times and lose multiple times.
Yeah, that's
There's-
true.
Yeah.
There's like two types of villains on reality TV. There's like the villain who knows they're the villain and they know their brand and they like fully lean into it. And then there's the villain that like tries to be the villain because they want the attention, but they're actually really bad at it.
Yeah.
That's Scott Casper.
I agree.
All right. All right.
So I have two people that came to mind. One is Lori Lightfoot, just because of her crazy outfits.
Okay.
I mean,
Crazy outfits.
Chris and
See,
I.
only a girl could do this. Like, get all catty at the clothing.
No, so Chris and I were at the Southside Irish Parade 3 years ago, and this woman was wearing like a kilt and the whole thing. Like, it just. Also, I think if this is gonna get me in trouble, but I think Jeannie Ives would be a really great reality show villain.
I think
she's
yeah,
got the cunning to do it.
She does have the cunning, and she does have that ability to like say one thing in one
Yeah.
room and the other thing in the other room, like be your friend, and then when you leave, like completely cut you apart.
There's people I talk to have like they're like, wow, Jeannie Ives, she's the best. She's so nice to me, and then I have people who have the completely
All right.
opposite.
Oh, listen, we
experience.
know this experience. Like she's very nice to and about us, and then when we leave the room, she's like core evil. Ah.
Yeah. So those are the two people that came to mind for me.
Okay. All right. I see that. I see it.
Dan Proft.
Why?
Because he is the villain. He is
That's not a good reason.
He
You
is
didn't even
the
think
villain.
about that hard
He's like,
enough.
whoa, I'm gonna like affect every primary by telling Republican primary voters what they want to hear.
I mean, this would be
This man
under the
is putting
category of.
reality
I think Dan
TV
Proft is
out.
well aware that he's the villain, and he likes to be the villain.
Exactly. I'm giving him what he wants.
So I think you're actually giving him a compliment.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait, this is...
Dan Proft, call me. We can do business together. I got things for you. All right.
Hey, this is one that I can't believe that Chris didn't say is Pat Brady. Because he's like, hey everybody, I'm a Republican. All Republicans suck. Let me go work for Planned Parenthood.
So Butler, very good. Very, very. You got me. You one-upped me. You're right. Because Pat Brady is a villain. He's evil, and he doesn't know. He thinks he's doing what's right. That's
See,
the bad
he's
thing.
like an Alan Sorkin Republican, like somebody who is a Republican but spends all their time bashing Republicans. That's like every Sorkin TV show and movie. That's the type of Republican he loves. Is like, I'm a Republican, but I'm gonna spend all my time bashing Republicans. So he's like a Sorkin Republican.
He's a token Republican. When the TV broadcast needs somebody to throw on the broadcast to talk about the Republican.
who won't actually make a good enough point that it would actually move our needle a little bit.
Oh no, it actually moves the Republican Party backwards.
Yeah.
In fact, but in his mind, it's moving it forwards. And if everybody just listened to Pat Brady, then we might be in a better position. Pat Brady and Dan Proft are very similar in a lot of ways.
Oh, this I disagree with. This I disagree with. But let me see where you're going with it.
Well, I'm saying they're just like they think whatever if everybody just listened to them, then the Republican Party would be an unstoppable force.
Hold on. Hold on. If this is your problem with Brady and Proft, then shouldn't you have a problem with yourself?
I don't. Like
If everybody just
Republican
listened to me, we'd be
you
fine.
said on camera that you're a Republican and you work here, so.
I mean, if that's your problem with them, then you got to have a problem with every mirror
Well,
that
I'm
you
right
see.
and they're wrong.
See, this is what I'm saying.
Come on, Kyle, you should know this. You're always right and other people are wrong. Come
See,
on.
but in my case, it's actually true.
No, in my case, it's actually true.
All right, so Michael, for one-upping Chris, gets the next gift. What do you want, buddy?
Let's see. What do I want? think I'm gonna take the Darth Vader over there.
All right, Kelduff, can you grab him the Vader? That's my favorite gift, so you're welcome.
I thought you might go for that Long Island iced tea.
I think it's pretty cool.
That would have been a good choice.
All right, what do we got? What else we got here? This is another one that requires me to grab my computer. Oh, yes, this is one. So if you can't learn from the past, you'll keep making the same mistakes. We call this the Darren Bailey edition.
I feel like I gotta give him the
Basically, just give the mic to Michael, because he and I are going to talk about this one. So this has been on our agenda for a long time, because there was an article that came out where Bailey was talking about something completely different, and maybe you remember what it was. I don't, but he was talking about why he was running, and it was like the footnote of the article. But I'm reading from it now. He said he couldn't understand why he lost to J.B. Pritzker in the 2022 election. After a lot of thinking and praying, the downstate farmer said the answer was, we have got to get rid of weak-kneed Republicans. So this is somebody who ran for office statewide, ran a horrible campaign, and lost. And his solution to why he lost after thinking and praying was, it's all the problem of weak-kneed Republicans. How can you blame Republicans of any stripe for why you lost the general election when you underperformed everyone else on the ballot? And here's the thing. I have on many episodes defended the Freedom Caucus / Eastern Bloc. I have said nice things about Darren Bailey, and I'm probably the only person north of I-80 who has done that. So this is not me bashing a guy like everyone else who everyone loves to bash Bailey. I'm saying this as someone who tries to be objective. If you cannot learn from the past, then you're never ever going to grow. The reason why Darren Bailey lost against J.B. Pritzker, there were numerous reasons. He didn't raise enough money. He didn't have a good message. He didn't run a good campaign. He wasn't a palatable candidate to the voters. I could give you 20 different reasons, none of which had anything to do with weak-kneed Republicans. But, of course, the Bailey answer is to fit this into your own personal narrative. So the problem isn't that Darren Bailey should have been a better candidate or should have run a better campaign. Let's be like everyone else on the planet and blame everyone else for our failures instead of blaming ourselves. And that's what Darren Bailey did here. And I got to tell you, he had a chance to earn respect from me and many others if he said something like, you know what, there were things we could have done better in that campaign. We could have done this, we could have done that, we've learned from it. But no, I did everything perfect, it's everybody else's fault. How are we ever going to learn if that's our mentality, is that, oh, I never do anything wrong, it was just all your problem over there, you weak-kneed Republicans. That's not why he lost.
Well, I would say, like, to that point, like, okay, you were the candidate for governor, like, you were the leader of the Republican Party, you know, from June through that primary, and he had opportunities, like, he could have been more of a unifier among the Republican Party and tried to bring other people into the fold. Like, yeah, we have our disagreements, you may have supported somebody else for governor in the primary, but, like, there comes a point where it's like, okay, you're the guy, and I personally know of situations where they like chose not to unify. Like, you know, there was one where a state senator, a Republican incumbent state senator, wanted to help, and verbatim what I was told was, I would rather not have an event at all than ask this individual for help with an event. Like, you're running against J.B. Pritzker. We're all on the same team here. Like, we got to beat this guy. And then, you know, so after they lost that election, they tried to say, oh, well, it was establishment Republicans. They didn't support us, and that's why we lost. And it's like, well, we got, 60 members of the legislature? Like, it's not like we got this big bench and all these people. Like, you got to, like, take advantage of every opportunity you can, and they just didn't do it.
There were no efforts to unify.
No
efforts at all. And then they blamed all the rest of us because they didn't try to unify. Like, it's, again, blaming other people for your own faults and failures. And I'm sick and tired of it. We're not going to learn if it's always everybody else's fault. We keep losing. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe go back to the drawing board and evaluate why you lost and grow instead of just blaming everybody else.
Well, that camp has kind of always been like an accountability for everybody else and not for me. Like, they want to hold everybody accountable for, oh, you voted on this bill in 2017, or you did this, or you said that. Like, we're going to hold you accountable for that, but then they lose by 12 points after Pritzker made sure they won the primary.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, but it's everybody else's fault, like, not ours.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, again, I hate it because it constantly makes me look like an idiot up here because I'm the one dumbass up here who's actually defending them half the time. And then they go do stuff like this, and it's like, stop it. Like, please, stop it. There's a place in the party for all of us, but that doesn't mean if you're tactically stupid that we have to keep listening to you. And if you can't say that we could have done things better in that campaign, if you're going to blame everybody else, then I don't know why I keep defending you.
Here's the thing, and this is me stepping off my moral high horse and looking at purely political, strategic, whatever. When you run for office, sometimes you got to be all about yourself. You only care about you and how you look, and everyone else falls by the wayside. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. Trump does that all the time. Everyone around him is always at fault. He's never at fault. With Darren Bailey, he probably knew he was going to run for Congress in a very Republican area where all he needed to do was convince Republicans to vote for him, not Democrats, not independents, only Republicans. And there's a way you get through a Republican primary, and that's by being the more conservative candidate in most choices. So for him to say that, it's a lot more tactical for him to say, look, it's all these people's fault, instead of saying, I'm a really bad candidate, that's why people didn't vote for me. I'm just saying, I don't know if it's good morally or not, but tactically, I could see why he did
So
it.
tactically sound, but if you claim that you are the moral high ground, you have to actually pretend to be on the moral high ground every once in a while. So if he is the bastion of truth that he claims to be, then you can't play politics. You have to actually tell the truth, even if the truth is inconvenient.
But
Go ahead
that's
and
all
close us out on this
Well,
topic.
and I
That's
think
all
just a nice
politicians.
wrap up to this is I hate this mentality in our party that we have to start kicking people out when they don't agree with us. There are not enough Republicans in Illinois to kick people out. We can't do it. So when you say those things, it only discourages the small group of people we have to participate, which we can't afford to do. So.
Yep. All right, we're all losers in this topic, so nobody gets a gift from that horrible topic. And actually,
No one
that
wants
is,
to give
that is
you-
a fair
That is an
point.
accomplishment.
Yes. All right, whose political stock in Illinois rose and fell in 2023? It's a look back to the last year. Whose stock rose and whose stock fell in the last year in Illinois? Who wants to kick us off? I think as much as, all right, I'll do it. I'll be honest. I'll be fair. In terms of stock rising, J.B. Pritzker. Have to say it. Have to admit it. I hate it so much, but it's the truth. Who else's stock either rose or fell this last year?
I think Senator Harmon's stock has risen a pretty good amount. I mean, he's really separated himself from Welch down
Is
in
it
Springfield.
because of his own skills or because, in comparison, he looks so much better?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the reasoning is. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Harmon has separated himself from has separated the Senate from the House, and by that has gotten himself a lot of good press and gotten him a lot of good graces with a lot of different interests. Whereas the House, you want to talk about going down, Chris Welch, I think his stock has gone down.
Yeah, fair. Who else? Up and down. Tony McCombie's stock is up in
Yeah,
2023.
what about Will County Republicans? I think their stock is up.
Yeah.
Well, that's two compliments towards
I know.
Chris.
I didn't really think that one out before I got on here.
Stock down, I'll tell you, Brandon Johnson. I mean,
Pat Brady.
Is there a level below? I mean, Johnson almost, you think about the whole year, Johnson was a nobody at the beginning of the year, and he's already a nobody again
He
now.
was at 0, now he's at negative.
So is that really down, or is it just sort of...
Paul
He's
Vallis's
been in
payroll.
positive territory.
Paul Vallis's payroll. Woo!
Stock down, yeah.
Still in
yeah.
the,
Well, I guess it was there, so it's broke even, I guess, but still in the negatives.
Or just broke.
some people still haven't gotten paid.
Oh, it wouldn't be an episode. Stock down. Darren Bailey, I think we just ripped his campaign to shreds, but he really had built a nice brand for himself, I think, after that. And he had such a great opportunity because whether we like Jeannie Ives or not, she has a great brand and she's built a great power base for herself up in the suburbs. And I think Darren Bailey had an opportunity to do the same thing, and how he's handled basically everything since then is kind of
True.
squandered
I mean,
his
this is,
opportunity.
honestly, he has put himself in a position where he has to win this primary.
Right,
because
that's what I'm saying.
He's done if he does not
he's
beat Bust.
taking a huge risk by
Yeah.
doing this, and I don't know that it pays off for him.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Ken Griffin's stock literally fell because he just
And how about every political consultant who was leeching off of Ken Griffin? Their stock is
real.
also down?
we have no more stock. The
No,
mean-
cow
I
is
think
dry.
their stock still goes up after every election.
They
So
find some way.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they found Doug Burgum after that. Now the question is, who's the next billionaire that they're going to leech off of?
Ron DeSantis, maybe.
Is he a billionaire?
For what money he's got, they might get it.
That's fair. Who
Maybe
else?
he'll be Department of Energy or something, probably Burgum, and then maybe they'll find a little way to make some cash off of that. you
Government
know?
cash this time around?
Maybe, who knows?
Who else? Up and down in 2023.
I think every Democratic statewide elected official has gone up because you haven't heard their name once.
Maybe.
And there's literally no negatives, and they're just going to carry the
I
incumbent.
mean, Mendoza's up for sure. I think people are, every year that passes where they forget that awful campaign for mayor, they start to think of Mendoza as actually having potential again. Because after she was the rising star of the Democratic Party statewide, then she ran such a horrible campaign for mayor, she suddenly was just not being talked about anymore. But I think she's rehabbed that over the last couple of years. I think Alexi Janulius, with all of his tummy time on social media, has raised his stock a little bit.
The Lake County Republican Party stock is up, rebuilding, doing better, actually having a competent organization compared to last
Stock
cycle.
down is the group that's trying to run a coup that's already failed.
If they had any, they have stock E, but not stock.
One thing that I would say is like Madison County Republicans, because the Democrats don't have a candidate for any county-wide. Like, they're only running people for like county board and stuff. Like that's a big turnaround.
So
in the
Metro
last
East
10
Republicans
years.
stock
Metro
up?
East. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like that. What else? Pretzel's stock is up. All right, this is good. I don't know. Yeah, Chris, you go ahead. I don't know why, but Chris, pick a gift.
Speaking of stocky, I
You're
love
gonna
you.
stand in
Chris.
front of all the
Give
cameras.
everyone a clean look at your
Right.
vest. Now is the time. Look at that.
What did you pick?
I picked the Abe mystery gift.
Oh, the
Should I
Abe.
open it
No,
on
it's
camera?
headphones.
I mean, should he?
Sure.
But the rule is you have to.
Hold
put
on.
them
Let's get the mic over here so we can actually
You have
hear.
to use whatever it is
Here we go.
right now.
Should I actually open it on camera, Abe?
Do it.
That wasn't an answer. That was.
The Beats headphones.
What was controversial about this? They're baby blue, so it's totally Chris's color.
Give this to Lily. You robbed her.
Look at that. Look how pretty Chris
children,
looks.
What are you listening to?
He's pretty and he's single. So
He's listening to
ladies,
Pat Brady.
please stop, all of you. There's only one Michael. So you know what? Like, some of you have to
Spread
pick.
the love a little
Spread it a
bit.
little
Spread it
bit.
a
Let's
little
give Chris a
bit.
little love. I mean, he's nice to cuddle with at night. I can't tell with my wife here. I can't tell you why I know that, but he's cuddly. He's nice, and he's got baby blue headphones. All right, what else we got here?
Thank you, Abe.
All right, I cheated on the last one. Let's see. We're running low on time, so I'm trying to find like some final topics for us to cover that might be meaty and juicy and fun. All right, you know what? Let's do this. Because let's do these couple. Let's have this topic because my poor wife is here. So we should talk about guns just to make her super uncomfortable. So there was a study that, of course, got absolutely no play in the media because, it's the media. But there was a study that came out, if my computer would work here, stand by, that it was a ATF report that was buried that weakens the claims that Chicago gun violence is all Indiana's fault. So every time you hear in the news that we've got gun violence in Chicago, it's all because it's not the fact that these gun laws aren't working. It's all because Indiana is dumping just thousands and thousands of guns onto our streets. Well, ATF actually did a study, and they found out that when it comes to guns used in city and state crimes in Illinois, it's Illinois gun shops, not Indiana gun shops, that actually run the lead as to where those guns come from. Illinois gun shops were the single leading source of these gun crimes citywide and statewide, not out-of-state vendors, according to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And yet, even in the article that came out that said that like Indiana gun shops were way down the list of where the source was for these guns, even in that article, the politicians couldn't change their tune. They still, in that article, even Arnie Duncan was quoted, a couple other people were quoted, and they still said it's a direct pipeline from Indiana, it's all Indiana's fault. Like, even in that article, they couldn't admit that maybe, just maybe, we should be having other conversations, because if all we do is blame it on Indiana, then we're not actually doing anything to solve the problem. You can't force Indiana to change their gun laws. So you can sit here and say, it's all Indiana's fault, it's not our fault, let's just wipe our hands clean. But at the end of the day, we now have stats that show that Indiana is not the #1 contributor to this problem. Are they a contributor? Yes. Do I wish that could be fixed? Yes. But they are not the major contributor. And the more we sit here, even in the damn article where they're like, well, it's still Indiana's fault. Like, there have been studies that have shown that when people have a predisposed position, they're not able to change that position, even when you present them with facts. And that is what I feel like with Illinois politicians and Chicago politicians. When it comes to guns, it's not the fact that we actually don't enforce the laws that we have in the books in this state. It's not the fact that we're actually eliminating laws down in Springfield that require mandatory sentences for felons who commit crimes with guns. And none of these are the factors. It's Indiana keeps sending guns to Chicago. That's our only problem. So I just wanted to kind of bring a little bit of light to this study that has not been noticed by anybody and not, of course, been run in any actual media. Because if we're actually going to solve the problem of violence, because it is an actual problem and kids are dying on the streets, maybe let's stop talking about politics and let's stop using our talking points and let's actually sit down and solve the damn problem, because the more we play politics, every day people are still dying on the streets. So let's do away with this. It's all Indiana's fault, and let's maybe actually solve the freaking problem. So maybe this is just a rant, I don't know, but I wanted to at least get it into an episode because it's been on the agenda for like 2 months and I haven't been able to rant about it.
Well, I made a lot of fun about Chris, but the gun problem clearly goes back to him because look at those puppies. So figured I'd give you a compliment. There we go.
That's usually a sign that
Should've
my
only
topic
worked
has
with
not
us,
succeeded in generating conversation.
I mean, I think it's like you look at the General Assembly and you go through like all the issues that are very important. Like during COVID, they just said, hey, JB, you just handle it all. We're not even going to talk about it. Like we got the migrant crisis in Chicago. They were in veto session. They didn't even talk about it once. Like you've got the dynamic with like Israel and Hamas and some of the members. We're not even going to address that. I think like this is just like par for the course kind of, where it's like, hey, it's Indiana's fault, it's not us, we're going to blame some Republicans in another state, because obviously they can't really blame Republicans here because there's only like 60 of us, right? So
In the whole state.
In the whole state, in the legislature.
We get about 250 to 400 views in
All
this
my
episode,
friends.
and it's like basically the only Republicans in the state. That is the quantity of us that exists.
So I think that's just like, okay, well, they're not going to do anything about it. They want to blame Indiana, and they want to, like, crack down on law-abiding gun owners by, banning all of these rifles and making you register them, which, like, if you look at the statistics, it's not like people are in downtown Chicago using AR-15s. Like, it's all gangbangers and that kind of stuff. Like,
They are, Butler. They are using AR-15s in downtown Chicago.
what is it, like 97% of firearm deaths are with handguns? Like, it's like 3% are with these guns that they're just obsessed with. Like, they don't actually want to address the real problem.
Well, and this is what Abby will attest to this, that what drives me crazy all the time is when there is a mass shooting of some kind, what ends up happening is people just go right to their talking points. They go right to, well, I've wanted to ban these guns for forever, so let's go back to banning these guns. And I'm not saying that is or isn't a bad idea. I'm simply saying the mass shooting was not even with a gun that's in their list.
Yeah.
Like, they're not jumping to, how do we solve this problem so this doesn't happen again? They're jumping to, this is my political position. And both sides do it. Conservatives do the same thing. It's thoughts and prayers and wait till everybody forgets about it so we don't have to talk about guns. Like,
Or
both
forget
sides.
about and celebrate the 4th of July.
Well, there's that too. Like, both sides are bad at this, but the problem is we run to our talking points and that's it. Instead of just sitting down and saying, hey, what can we actually do to solve what is a very real problem?
This feels like when we were talking about racial equity, like, oh, we're going to put these policies in place or say these things that make people feel like we're addressing the problem, but we're not actually getting to the real issue of the thing, which is, X, Y, or Z. We're just going to go to these, talking points that make people feel good. And, oh, yeah, we can rest our head at night. It's not really our problem. It's Indiana's problem. So nothing we can do about it. Yeah.
And the thing is, if you somehow find a way to turn off the spigot from Indiana, these people are getting their firearms illegally. They'll just find
Correct.
another
Correct.
source for those firearms. Like, at a certain point, you've got to go to the root of the problem instead of constantly trying to put a Band-Aid on a giant open wound.
Or maybe not, pass something like the Safety Act that makes it harder for criminals to go to jail.
Well, there's a different conversation about that for
Yeah,
sure. But
yeah.
forget that, though that is a
Yeah,
big conversation.
yeah.
We talked about it with Bob Berlin a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
with the guest that you were able to bring on for us, where even Berlin said there was a bill at that time that had just
Yeah.
been dealt with in Springfield where Kwame Raoul wanted it The semi-liberal Democrat Attorney General wanted this bill that was his bill because it had stronger penalties for felons who commit crimes with guns. And Springfield, these supposedly liberal politicians in Springfield and progressive politicians in Springfield just let it sunset, let it die. So you've got situations now where you've got felons who commit crimes with an illegal firearm, and we're not able to tamp on an extra couple years or an extra whatever for that. Like this, we're in this situation now because we just want to blame everybody else for the problems that exist instead of doing something about it.
I'm pretty sure that JB Pritzker probably has Kim Fox and Eric Reinhardt's phone numbers. And if he really wanted to do something about this, he could shoot him a text or
Don't say shoot him a text.
a
Just
call.
maybe a
I don't know,
different-
something.
different
You know,
choice of
email,
words.
an email. I don't know, Snapchat.
Just
I
shoot-
mean,
just shoot something?
Something. Just get a hold of him and say,
Our Southern
hey, we got
Illinois
a-
boys
we got a
solution
problem
is
over
just
here.
shoot him.
Just shoot him. Yeah. That would solve a lot of the issues.
I mean, I think there's obviously a conversation to be had about holding criminals accountable, but I think again, it's having a conversation about the root cause of this crime instead of just blaming, just like we talk about with Darren Bailey. Stop blaming other people for your failures, and let's say, hey, this is actually a problem. Listen, we had Ed Sullivan on a couple months ago, and he's one of the lobbyists for the Illinois State Rifle Association, and they are known for, okay, we agree there are problems, so how do we sit down at the table and make sure that we pass laws or put in place rules that keep the guns out of the hands of people who want to use them to do harm while not infringing on the rights of law-abiding citizens. There's a way to have that conversation, but the solution is always take away all the guns or everybody gets free guns, 3 a year, just because there's no middle ground anymore.
I have an open offer, and this is for any representative or senator who's a Democrat or opposes or is for all this gun
Listen
control
up,
legislation. Joyce Mason, if you're listening, J.B. Pritzker, Mary Edley Allen, I will take you shooting. I will even pay for your concealed carry course and your license. It'll be about $500. I will happily cover it. But just going through the process of purchasing a firearm, going through the training, figuring out how it works, I'm by no means a gun nut, but I would like to think I know a little more than the average person. And it's so enlightening when you just even get a little basic training and education of like, oh, I didn't know that there's these different kinds of guns that do these different things, and you have to go through this many background checks. Like, did you know if you have a FOID card, they run a background check on you every single day? Most people have no clue. If you have a concealed carry card, they run 2 background checks on you every single day. If I could go commit a felony right now, my FOID card would be null and void tomorrow morning. People don't know that, and it's laws like that these legislators are putting into practice, and they have no freaking clue what they're even doing. So
knowing something about the process, I think would be
you
a
gotta
helpful
know the
thing.
process.
But I think it's about the politics more than the policy for most of these, right? Like let's give some credit. I'll get some trouble in Lake County, but Brad Schneider, congressman, went up to what meeting did he go to? What meeting did he attend?
He did go to the State Line Rifle Association meeting, and actually Bob Morgan too, who was a state rep who authored the recent assault weapons ban, because they're not assault weapons. But he met with a bunch of us in a garage, a glorified garage, not just a random garage, and talked through why he supported and authored that legislation. So as much as I disagree with both Schneider and Morgan, I do give them respect for being able to talk out why they did that.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I mean, if that happened more, we'd be in a much better position.
Abe wants to say something.
This is just like a general comment, and I'm not on these often, but a couple months ago I was sitting down with my wife's grandfather, and he asked me what I do. And one of his biggest questions when I told him that I do consulting in politics and things like that, he was like, what's wrong with everything? Like, they're not fixing anything. I've been in this country for, however many years, and nothing gets done. And, this is just a general, thought. But I told him that government doesn't care about, actually solving any problems.
Feels like that.
Because then they'd be out of a job if they were just fixing everything left and right.
Fair.
So I think with the gun stuff, I don't think anyone actually wants to fix it.
That's a fair point.
But-
I mean, you do have a system that's sort of got this perverse incentive to keep perpetualizing problems, because the more the problems exist, the more you can fundraise off of them, the more you can continue to have a job. So I do think you're right. I think it is a system that at this point no longer incentivizes good people to go to Springfield or go to Washington and get something done. The system is, to a degree, broken, for sure. All right, everybody good on this? Abby had something to say?
I was just gonna. I'm not getting political here, because I'm just throwing Lane a bone here because he's here and that's exciting. And I know this is his favorite show, but I was just curious if that article wanted to blame Indiana because Stranger Things told us that there's a hell dimension underneath Indiana.
I mean, I think Indiana is a hell dimension, so there's.
That is the accurate
They have
part
like
of the
5
show.
different time zones when you drive through.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of Indiana. Like,
They have 2 different
can't
time
we
zones.
just like
If-
annex them?
Round up.
Like, I don't know. I'd love to
politician, I get
think
to
we'd-
round up.
if we could annex them into Illinois, like we'd actually get some of those red voters over here, maybe win some elections.
No,
Like-
Colin, you don't understand. Like, the Republicans would still lose.
We'd still find some way to
Yes,
screw it up.
the Republicans would still lose even if they annexed Indiana.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to drink a little more because you're not wrong. Yeah, as much as I like to tease Wisconsin, because we have family in Wisconsin and they have the Packers who absolutely suck, and there's lots of problems with Wisconsin. Like
The Bears record?
at least there's a point, kind of,
you guys
to
understand
Wisconsin.
Drinking out of a bear's
Like I
Same
don't,
as the Packers.
It's less than the Packers.
I don't understand the point of Indiana. I really don't. Like I don't get it. I feel like you're the kind of person who would defend Indiana.
Honestly, no. I mean, I know a lot of good people from Indiana.
Good nights in Gary.
I have a lot of friends from Indiana.
I do have a lot of friends from Indiana. Spent a lot of time in Indiana, but no, I think Indiana is overhyped. I hear many people talk about the promised land of Indiana. In
Low
this
property
state.
taxes.
Low
calls Indiana the promised land.
Yeah, it is.
Who are you talking
People
to?
call Indiana the promised land because they have low property tax. No, God forbid you get any services out of your local government because of your low property taxes.
Well, how many services are we getting out of our high property taxes?
You live in Palatine, which is run by Republicans, presumably, so you don't believe in government services up there. Down by me, we live in towns run by Democrats, and we have government services.
And yet you guys are the ones that are all crying about your property taxes?
I don't pay property tax.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point.
That's the loophole.
I think someone get Chris a drink. He has to take a drink for that. Why
I'll
is,
hold this.
In his Bears cup, yeah.
yeah,
Get your
in the
beer.
Bears cup.
Drink it out of the Bears.
Let's
Pour it
go.
up. Pour it
Come
up,
on.
Oliver.
Who's got the drinks?
What are you supposed to do?
Well, you had beer over there, like a
I drank it.
like a little sissy. Give him a little whiskey.
I gotta take a shot.
To the promised land.
In the Bears cup. I like this. Oliver's got a heavy pour too. Well done. There we go.
Go Bears.
Praise Ditka.
The Bears.
All right. Speaking of which, let's end on a fun topic. Battery's going to die soon, I've been informed by Lane. So let's finish on a fun topic. Who should play quarterback and coach for the Bears in 2024? I see our non-sports aligned are passing the mics to people who actually understand sports. Who should be the Bears quarterback and coach in 2024?
Who will be or who should
Who
be?
should be?
Brian has to start out this topic. There's no way.
And while we talk about the Bears, I'm going to have to drink heavily.
I've been going back and forth with this over and over again. And I think should and want to be are the same thing, and I just don't know. Next year, it should be Eberflus and Fields. Does that mean that they
It
should not?
should be Eberflus and
Yes.
Fields?
Yeah. In my mind, it's technically year 2. I don't think. I mean, if it doesn't work, that'll be the first firing mid-season. But the Bears need some continuity. They need to admit that they need to see something through till its end and stop giving up.
True.
Before it's hit its peak.
So you pass on somebody who could be one of the best quarterbacks of the
Yes.
generation.
No, I'm not saying we pass up. I'm saying we draft him. Maybe we.
So you
there's a
draft
debate-
Caleb Williams and keep
I don't know
Justin
that I want
Fields?
Caleb Williams, to be honest.
Are you talking about Marvin Harrison?
I don't think he's the savior. I think like a Penix or
A
what's
who?
the or
Penix.
Who?
Penix.
What?
Curtis Enos.
Does YouTube allow this word, Lane?
Pause.
The Bears have history with these.
They
names.
say big Penix energy when they're talking about him.
Really? If we actually draft this dude, I want Dick Buttkiss to be the one who announces it. So it's Dick Buttkiss
R.I.P.
announces.
Well, I hate to tell you, Dick Buttkiss is dead.
I understand.
So
Have you not seen AI? Have you not seen technology?
yeah, I know it's like satanic. Haven't you seen?
But this
What?
is. Anyways, Ryan's.
But I don't think Caleb Williams is it.
I
mean,
agree.
I'm not an NFL draft analyst by any means, and everyone says he's the end all be all. Great, maybe he's the next Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers or something. I don't know, But I think the value here is whatever the Oregon's QB his name is, and then Bo Nix. I think that's where the value is, and I think you got to give Fields one more shot. If anything, because he's top-notch character. He's Chicago in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't want to admit it, I don't think the solution is letting him go because there's going to be probably like 10 head coaching vacancies. We're not getting Belichick. The Bears don't want to give that power away. We're not getting Harbaugh. The Bears don't want that controversy. We're not trading for Tomlin. Tomlin's never had a losing season. So next year, I truly believe the market will be a little bit better for a head coach, and I'd rather be patient on it because I think Eberflus deserves – maybe deserves is a strong word.
Yeah.
But I think it's his year too. They gave up last year. That wasn't even a real year. You got to give the guy two clean years.
I mean, is Eberflus going to take you to a Super Bowl? Yes or no?
No.
I don't think anyone. I think period. I don't think anyone answers that question with a yes.
So here's my thought as a mostly unbiased observer. Go Lions.
Boo!
I mean, no,
Kings
we're
of the
rooting for them.
North.
They're the NFC champs. They should take it all the way now.
Boo!
You have our blessing.
Boo! You have Ryan's blessing. You have Ryan's blessing. You did.
Wait, hold on. Your blessing? What team ran the NFC North the last 12 years? The Green Bay Packers. They don't get your blessing. The poverty Bears get to give the Lions their blessing. Unbelievable.
Get out of here.
Unbelievable.
So as I've had to watch this Bears team all year long because I love my fiance, but I've seen Justin Fields get better over the course of the year, and I really feel like it's the scheming and at the coaching position that is the problem. And so I just feel like Fields is going to be handicapped as long as he has Eberflus as a head coach because we've seen it. He's made this defense excel. The offense just is not good enough. And
Do you think that the new Bears president has the cojones to go to Eberflus and say, "Listen, you can stay here as D coordinator. If you won't take the job, you're out." Like, because Eberflus would make an incredible defensive coordinator. Like, he has done a great job with this
It
defense.
would be the smart
but
move.
the head coach, the decision making at the end of quarters, at the end of half, the end of the game is horrible. The offense is horrible. Like this,
But he
cannot be a head coach. He is a horrible head coach. But as a D coordinator,
Yeah.
and what would be the highest paid
he
defensive
looked
coordinator in the
over
whole
his skis
NFL?
the entire time.
Yeah.
But the problem, to your point, is that no one is willing to make those tough decisions. No one's willing to take that risk. Everyone laughed at the Lions. Ha ha! We have Dan Campbell who's talking about biting off kneecaps.
MCDC?
Yeah, that's right, baby. But he was willing to take those risks as a coach, and it's really paid off for them. And I think if the Bears were willing to take those risks, they would be successful because there is talent on that team. It just isn't being put together in the right way.
Well, I mean, I think Eberflus's big thing is he was hired based on 2 years for the Colts when he was the complete opposite, where they won last-minute games. They won
That's true.
these small details. I don't know what changed.
But he wasn't the head coach.
He's a defensive coordinator, but he basically was because
He's playing
how many-
scared. That's the problem.
Yeah, he was widely known as. What's the other? He got fired as
Frank
the
Reich.
coach. Yeah, Frank Reich. I mean, Frank Reich is similar to Eberflus, where he's probably not a head coach, but this is what we're living with.
Well, I want to hear Lane's opinion on this.
I'm a Justin Fields guy through and through.
Really?
I think
You don't reset the quarterback clock? I mean, we're going to have to pay the dude next year.
I say like Ryan said, we got that 5th-year option. We stick with that.
Sheesh.
Coaching, I might be saying Ryan's right here. Eberflus, I think has proven himself to be a good leader. Actually, they just not have the right people on offense. Luke Getsy should have been
Terrible,
left in
terrible,
Cleveland a
terrible.
few weeks ago. Get a new offensive coordinator who will call plays to Justin's strengths. Let Eberflus stick with the defense and doing his stuff. I think we got one more year before. I don't like Caleb Williams. I think he's overhyped. Drake May, we drafted Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina.
Yeah,
His
Drake May
titles,
reminds me
I
a
don't
lot
wanna
of
do
Mitch
that again.
Trubisky. Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix. These guys are guys that we could get later in the draft, or maybe we just wait till next year.
So what, you trade down, you get Marvin Harrison Jr. and an
Yeah.
interior offensive lineman or
Yes.
someone?
Or defensive lineman,
Yeah.
and go from there. But
And then-
I'm a Fields guy through and through.
Really?
If he goes to the Falcons,
You're going to have to
next
pay him
year,
over $20 million after next year.
I'll be
That's-
wearing a Falcons hat next year if wherever Justin Fields goes.
Wow.
I'll be wearing that hat.
Wow.
We'll give you Russell Wilson for Justin.
Pass.
So I would just like to reflect.
The Broncos fan is just crying over here.
So I would just like to point out that the Lions have beaten the Packers, the Bears, and the Broncos. So every single one of these teams we've beaten.
Yeah, I love how the Lions are good 1 year.
Yeah.
And this one over here has just been cocky all year.
Yes.
One good
Yes.
season.
I don't think the Lions beat the Bears. I think the Bears beat the Bears, and then the Bears
True,
beat
that
the
is
Lions.
true. But the result, a win's a win, though.
Yeah, I mean, how bad is the NFC that we're actually talking about the Lions as a decent team in the
First
NFC?
time in my lifetime.
The Packers
I
beat
know.
the Lions. The Packers beat the Bears, and they may do it again, but I know
We're
damn well.
not making the playoffs. I'm calling it right now.
I know damn well we're not either, Oliver. The Packers are not making the playoffs.
You guys almost lost to the Panthers last week. How
lost to the Broncos.
The Packers lost to the Broncos. Packers aren't making the playoffs. They're going to win this week versus the Lions, and then the Bears are going to come to Lambeau Field, and Justin Fields is going to play the greatest game a quarterback has ever played in the history of the NFL. And the Bears are going to beat the Packers, and I will not hear about it. I will not hear the end of it until the next 12 years, because that's how long it will take the Bears to beat the Packers again.
Yeah, well, you're probably not wrong on that. In terms of the quarterback, I don't know where I stand, though. I think you got to reset the clock just financially, so I think you got to draft a quarterback and move on from Fields. That said, the coach is where I feel strongly. We got to move on from the coach. We are not winning a Super Bowl under Matt Eberflus. That's where I feel strong.
That's
You guys
true.
want to go back and forth on quarterbacks? All right, fine. I see the reasoning, not because I like Fields. I think Fields is an average quarterback at best. You're not going to convince me that we stick with Fields because Fields is great. You'll convince me that the first draft pick has tremendous value right now because people are going to salivate over Caleb Williams. And so where you'll convince me is we could get a king's ransom. Not like last year will be nothing compared to what we could get for the first draft pick of this draft. And so you say, you know what, we stick with an average quarterback in Fields because we can get 7 picks for the first pick. Okay, now I get that wisdom. But the coach has got to change. And Abby and I have a brilliant idea for who should coach this team. We think they should make a call to Ozzie Guillen to coach the Chicago Bears.
I'm here for
if
it.
only
Yes.
because seeing that dude pass on plays through the headset to the quarterback, where the quarterback's like, what the hell did you just
Imagine
say?
if
They're not going to understand him, Colin.
That's the whole point.
I've been listening to Ozzie Guillen since I was 4, and I still can't understand the guy.
This is what I'm saying.
It would
Imagine
be hilarious.
you have 35 seconds to get the play in, and every play the quarterback's going to be like, what?
They would have to go back to those boards or something on the side.
Every other
And it has with the Bobby Jenks symbol.
Yeah.
Every other
Pass it to the fat guy. The tight end. Give it to the fat guy.
every,
Which one?
every other word is either broken Spanish or like a English curse word. There's no in between.
They would just need to resort to like holding up signs and like hand signals because
yes.
the players would be like, what are you saying?
But he would bring
You want
energy.
Harbaugh is what you're saying.
He would bring energy to the team. He'd be excitement. The post game, like forget Lovie Smith's boring post game conferences. Like Ozzie would make those fun.
Rex is our
I just I say we lean into sucking and just go
Yeah.
for entertainment.
I'm here
and
for that.
That's
It's
the answer.
2023, soon to be 2024. The American people don't care about anything but entertainment today. So why the heck wouldn't we just lean into it and
Yes.
give them entertainment?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Lane's the boss. Are we out of juice at this point?
Pretty dang close.
Yeah. All right. Boss is saying we're out of time. Okay? Let's close with this. Final closing thoughts. And all of you who are always on the show just have to shut up. For those of you who don't actually ever get to speak, you guys are going to be our closing thoughts. So Ryan, whatever you want to talk about to close out the year, what do you got?
Well, I want to say thank you for all the people that have given positive feedback to the show. For the most part, we see them first, Lane and I, but the team really appreciates those. What I want to see, since we did finally get a chance to talk about the Bears, downstate folks, Butlerville. I want to see the Bears fans come out from downstate because I feel like you don't exist. And I realize the St. Louis Rams have been gone for several years now. I don't know how we get you, but Butler and I had a conversation with a potential client the other day, and it was the first client ever to even bring up being a Bears fan. And I was like, I like this guy. How do we help him? So let us know. Let us know how we can recruit you.
All right. Abe, you got commentary about Cloud9 or Marvel or just something else?
This year, in a nutshell, was like Broncos country. Let's die.
Yeah, pretty much. You've had a rough year.
Yeah.
But you have a gorgeous wife. You got a good life.
Yeah, and
You got
And
the
you got-
cats.
new cat.
You got cats. So you know you've sort of embraced sort of crazy
Hey,
cat
make
lady.
your pitch
she runs
for.
into everything.
Hey, make your pitch to get your electric vehicle rebate done.
Yeah, I almost chimed in when we were talking about like legislation that Democrats passed to help
Yeah.
those in need. I mean, they're hooking up all the low-income people right now, which I don't mean this in an offensive way, but I just don't know how you afford an electric car, brand new electric
So
car.
you've put in for the rebate for the electric vehicle,
Yes.
but you can't get it because it's going to other people.
First,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're just waiting. But
Which, I mean, how do you deny this face? He's cute, he's wonderful, he's nice. Like, just give him his rebate.
please.
Yeah, all right. All right, Abby Corbett, closing thoughts, say something. Say how excited you are about Baby Boy. I don't know, whatever you want.
I am excited about Baby Boy. He's been asleep this whole time, so I don't know what that says about our conversation. But thank you to everyone who has been loyal to our podcast, and I'm very proud of our team and my husband.
Hi, cutie. All right, Lane, our producer, gets the final thought.
Well, thank you everybody who watches.
I hope the camera shuts off while you're
Right
talking.
now.
Like runs out of battery while Lane is talking.
Thank you to everybody who watches week in, week out, listens either on Spotify or watches on YouTube. It makes what we do well worth it. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Hope everybody has a Happy New Year, and we see a lot of Republican victories up and down the ballot in 2024.
Yo, let's do it.
All right, we appreciate everybody. I don't know which shot Lane's gonna take, so I'm just gonna bounce between the two cameras, and Lane will just figure out what works. No, we appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you guys for being part of this journey. This is episode 33, right, boss?
Yep.
So we've been doing this a while. 2024 is gonna be a whirlwind of a year, and we're gonna be rolling out. We at Core Strategies are gonna be rolling out a brand new, pretty exciting product next week. So you want to stay tuned for that. We've got some pretty exciting plans for 2024 on how to empower people. Here's the key word: empower candidates and political leaders to step up and step out and make a difference. So that's our goal for 2024. Stick with us on this journey. I'm really proud of this team. Thank you to our other team members. This is like half of our team. So to the rest who couldn't be here or were too afraid of the camera, we're thankful for you guys as well. We will catch you guys in 2024. And for that, we say to hell with 2023.